Hello everyone, we are doing Patreon companion number 12. Let's get into it. Yes, we are doing another Patreon companion, and this is number 13, so I've done 12 so far, so now we're starting volume 2. So my goal with this is to try and probably push myself a little more design-wise. It's just hard because there's certain animals, like we're going to do the dragon first, because he was the first one I did, so we're going to go back to doing him. My dragons are designed very specifically. So this is going to be very interesting. Like actually, here I can show you a quick look of what I'm talking about. Like this isn't what he actually like completely looks like. So for example, this is in my comic, but this is Arliss. So he's one of my main dragons. Well, he's actually like the main dragon pretty much. So this is his like anthro form. He has an actual like dragon form that he mutates into. But you can kind of see how I do scales and such, and just the way the coloring is. They're very specific. Like, I don't do just random dragons. So that's why it's kind of interesting for me to try and figure out how to do these floral designs with mixing stuff in. It's going to be kind of interesting. But I'll have to just figure that out as I go. Like a lot of it I figure out as I go. Like I don't really have an idea. I just kind of make up stuff. Interim. So we're going to be doing a bleeding heart plant. So these are actually pretty cool. I don't know how to... This is going to be an issue. I'll have to show you after because because of the way I have to draw. So it's a bleeding heart plant, which is really cool. So it's just like literal like heart... It's on a vine, but it's like heart-shaped petals with like teardrops on it. I don't know. It's definitely something. So I was like, okay, this is actually super cool. So now the other part is, what am I going to do? So I'm wondering... I was almost like having an idea of having him walking or something. Ooh, hold on. Alright. Let me figure... Maybe just like a high arch neck or something. And then the tail could kind of be the vine. Okay, even the horns can be vine shaped. And then I have this thing where I like to put stuff on the horns, so it'll be something like that. And then even like under the plates on the chest, I actually do put stuff as well. So this will actually kind of work this way. Obviously the petals will be the tail. Because the spikes, frills, whatever you want to call it, will be the actual flower itself along the back. I'm just trying to think about how to do this. So I almost want him in like a valley situation. I don't want him in water though, but... And then obviously plants around. Ooh, you know what? I almost want to put some animals in here that he like, because he's like a protector kind of thing. So I wonder, just a couple, maybe like some deer or something. Oh, that might be fun. Because the page I'm doing, it's a portrait, it's not landscape. That's the only thing. So I might have to mess around with it and make him a little more 3/4, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal. So we'll see. Because that's his thing. He just kind of protects like animals that are like in his care. So we could have like bunnies down here and put some animals, maybe like woodland animals. So that'll be start. Now for the wings, because if I add stuff to the wings, I tend to do it up here and not back here. Because I feel like up here it might be slightly thicker because it's at the arm part. And then as it goes farther back, it's probably thinner just because it's not as close. Because I could add some petals on here as well, is the other thing. We'll see. Okay, so all right, let me figure out the color situation and we'll go from there. So color-wise for the plant, it looks like it's only 3 colors. So it's pink, red, or white. So I think that's the colors I'm gonna stick with, and I'm just gonna do those. I think it'll be interesting. So I actually might make him white. And then, so I might just have mostly white here. Do I want red and then pink? No, you know what? Ooh, I could do pink and red, so it's kind of like an ombre. Sorry. So I could do white here, pink, and then red, right? Because it'll look like an ombre, so that actually might be kind of interesting. Let me just grab some random colored pencils. Okay, I got a pink and a red. So white I'll leave blank, so obviously only green for the surrounding area. I'll just grab a brown for the little animals. Alright. Let's just go with that for now. I just need to get a general idea of what I'm doing. After that, it won't matter. So now for the plants themselves, I am going to make them green like how they should be. And then the flowers will just be a mixture of the red, pink, and the white throughout. Because that's what I tend to do, to split them up. I just like to try and get whatever colors I can in there. Alright, there's that. So we'll need brown. Swan here I'll leave alone. I'll have to mess around with the water a little bit and kind of play around with it. Oh, that actually looks pretty good for it being water. That's not bad. You know how, like, if you look in the wild, it's got like browns and greens in it because of like this, because it's a reflection. That's actually pretty cool. All right. Now for him himself, so I want mostly white. So then I need pink. All right. So here's where it's about to get interesting. So do I want all pink for? Hold on. I think. Oh, this is going to be interesting because right here is going to be pink. So it's back here. This would be. So these flowers will be pink here too. Going into this. I almost wonder, do I want to have the edges? I might have the edges pink. So the inside legs will be pink. That's pink. How am I doing? Okay, this is pink. So I want that red. So I'm wondering if I leave this white because it's kind of like the vine, right? And then for the red, because then I want these edges to be red. Just the very inside. And then I have some extra scale patterns throughout here. So this will be red. It's white. The eyes will be pink as well. This is all red. Oh, I guess we can call this a girl. I'll make this a girl this time because I feel like these colors would make her a she. Also just because of what she is representing with this kind of stuff. So I think it would make more sense for this to be a girl. So that's what we're, as long as I remember that. All right. So then there's that. I might end up doing some more with the inside wing, so we'll see. Okay. Let me do the little teardrops here. I think that'll be interesting because it is kind of like an ombre effect, so it might be something. Plus, she's going to stand out from the rest of this, which is good because that's what I'm trying to do. Obviously, we'll have a bunch of plants around. I might have some more coming off the sides as well, so we'll see. Her positioning might change a little bit, so that way I can kind of figure this part out. But that's kind of where we're at, so I'll have a more like valley forest type of situation. I think probably some trees in the background and whatnot, and maybe some other plants kind of popping off. But for now, this is what we'll have. So I'm just going to work with this. I know I might even have her, I actually might have her arch her head down some to kind of mess with like the deer down here or something. I think would be kind of cool, just for a little interaction and just to kind of add some more, since she is a protector of like animals and among other things. So I think that'll work. But we're going to go with this. So let me get started. A mighty dragon once ruled the skies, feared for her strength but admired for her devotion to the creatures under her protection. For centuries, she guarded a thriving kingdom hidden within the forest. When a great disaster struck, the dragon could save the land, but not all the lives she cherished. Heartbroken by her loss, she retreated deep into the wilderness and wept beneath an ancient tree, where her tears touched the earth, bleeding heart flowers bloomed. Unlike most dragons, she is drawn to emotional wounds rather than treasure. She roams the world seeking places where bonds have been broken, families divided, friendships lost, promises forgotten, or hearts left aching. When she finds such places, she plants seeds from her blossoms. These seeds grow overnight into glowing, bleeding heart flowers that help people remember the love that once existed even through pain. The dragon's breath is known as a blooming mist. Instead of flame, she exhibits a sparkling cloud of petals and fragrant pollen. Those touched by the mist are overcome by memories, not only of loss, but of joy, kindness, and connection. Many emerge with renewed courage to forgive, heal, or move forward. Yet, the bleeding heart dragon is not weak. When cruelty threatens the innocent, the blossoms covering her body darken to deep ruby red. The crystal droplets harden into razor-sharp gemstones, and thorn vines erupt from the ground at her command. She fights with fierce determination, believing that love and compassion are worth defending. The oldest stories tell of a rare gift called the heart seed. Once every century, a bleeding heart dragon produces a single glowing seed from the flower blooming closest to her heart. Whoever nurtures this seed with genuine kindness can grow a plant capable of mending fractured relationships and erasing generations of sorrow. For the bleeding heart dragon understands a secret that many do not. A heart that has been broken is not a sign of weakness. Like the bleeding heart flower itself, it is proof that something precious once bloomed there. And so, the dragon continues her endless journey through the world's forgotten forests, leaving trails of crimson blossoms in her wake, a living reminder that even lost beauty can grow again. So, our little dragon over here has somewhat of a sad backstory, but that's kind of who makes her who she is, right? That's kind of the point. But that's okay, because sometimes even in loss, you can kind of find a way to bounce back and do better. Is kind of what this is, which makes sense because that's what you want to do, right? Like you want to recover what you lost. You want to bounce back from what happened in any type of situation, no matter how bad it is. You want to make sure it doesn't happen again and that the next situation is better than before. So drawing wise, here's my thing. Her design's fine. It's just when I was like drawing her, especially like the extra designs I do, she was giving gesture, like a court jester. I don't like it. If it's because I think it's like because they have those hats on with like 3 floppy spike things when it's got the bells dangling on the very ends. Because I drew her horns kind of like how the plant is, and then because I drew the flowers hanging down from the horns, it just made me think Jester the entire time, and I'm like, I don't like this. But I made her still, and just the way that she was, I just was not a fan, because I was like, well, what is happening here? But nothing I can do about that. The design, though, so when I draw my dragons, I have a particular way I draw them. So I kept with that design feature. You can kind of see here what I mean by on her head. Looks like a jester, and it's just like not the intention, but that's what happened. So I couldn't, well, I mean, I guess I can, but because I'm so specific with how I draw them, I didn't want to like go past that like formula I have. Because my dragons are very specific looking. Like I don't draw like your generic dragon that you see all the time. I feel like if mine were put up against others, mine would stand out just because of the design I created with the scale patterning and just the way the coloring is. Because each of the scales are supposed to be a specific color. So that's why I'm like, overall, she's fine. But I just don't know. I guess it works, especially because I did like the dangling flowers on her, which I do like on my dragons, like on the like under on the belly part and like down the chest and most of the tail and stuff. I do put some type of like defense per se on there just to kind of match like the back of it. It's not as full as the back is, but it's still reminiscent of the back. So that's kind of what this was her hanging down. So I was like, okay, that's something a little bit different than what I would do because normally it's all kind of essentially like stuck to the chest as more of like defense mechanism. It doesn't hang. So I had to like figure out how to make this hang so that way it looks like it was dangling like how on an actual like bleeding heart flower does. That was what I was trying to do. Also, I know the white looks blue. It's because of the way that I color my white. Because whenever I actually get to the pencil portion, it almost looks gray, but there's a difference between my white and my gray. It's just the way that I figured out how I like to color white. And that's why I do it this way, because I tend to use like a somewhat lighter blue. I probably should have done a lighter blue than this and a lighter gray. I think it's also why I'm not a huge fan of the way that turned out. But I use both of those because to me, I feel like it helps with the white a little bit just because white's a lighter color. You know, I know white, I think, is made up of like a bunch of different colors technically, depending, I guess, on lighting and such. But this was the way that I did it because it just made sense to me. And it was just kind of easier to deal with, you know? So that's what I did. The red and the pink, I guess now looking back at it, aren't that similar now because before I feel like sometimes they're very similar, like, and it's hard for me to differentiate between them sometimes. But again, I still color them a little bit differently, so it's very interesting. But I wasn't really thinking about lighting, I'm not gonna lie. I just kind of just started coloring and just went with it. But it's kind of more of like top-down coloring kind of is what I went with. Which I think kind of works because she is bending down, you know, they are kind of in a foresty somewhat type of area situation happening. So I guess it kind of makes sense to have the sun overhead. At least that's what I think. Like, that's just how I feel. But that's just me. So I feel like in that sense, it kind of does make sense. But sometimes if I'm not really thinking about it or I don't know what I'm doing for lighting wise, I just start coloring and that's just what I go with. Others, I'm like, yeah, I kind of know what I want to do. But sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I have no idea which way the light is. I'm like, I don't know. But we're just going to go with it anyway. And I also have gotten to a habit now of not, with the marker, not coloring over the entire area like I used to do. I now just put the color down where it's supposed to go and that's it. And then I just add the other colors like after it. So they're not really blended or anything. It's not really a layering thing either. It's just, I just kind of mark off the sections. I guess it's just to save ink. I got into a habit of it because of some other projects I've been working on the side. I'm not making a video of them on here just because I didn't record really any of the drawing process. I'm going to make shorts of them, but not like an actual like video, like drawing video. So because I've been doing those, because it's just a lot of drawings and it requires marker, and these markers I don't have refills, like I have to go buy a brand new marker, is I just started only coloring in the portion of where that marker would sit, and that was it. So I've gotten into that, which I don't mind. I think it's fine. Like it kind of works still for what I need. It still gets the point across, and that way again, I'm not using up like a whole bunch of ink. It's just a little bit, or like a little bit less than what I normally would, which I think works. Same thing with the pencils. Depending on what I'm doing, I will either do a full coverage of the pencil, like if it's kind of like if I went too heavy-handed with the marker, like it's just too dark, I will do full coverage of the pencil to help lighten it up. If not, I'll just do the same method as the marker, and I'll just do cover it in portions, and then I can blend it, as you can see here, which makes it easier. Also, the bunnies, I don't know what I was doing with the bunnies. I have no idea. I was just trying to use colors I already had used, and I was like, okay, what am I doing? So I just picked whatever colors I have on there. I think it's like brown, gray, and that blue or something. And I went with it. I mean, they kind of look interesting. It's definitely different coloration for bunnies, so, you know, they're not really realistic, but it's a different coloring option, I suppose, so it's definitely something. Still kind of works though, it's very interesting. It kind of helps though because I have those brown deer. So it's almost kind of like adding, and I have like the brown trees in the background, but by having the deer and the bunnies, it just kind of helps incorporate a little bit more brown. I have those swans that are white and the dragon's white. That's her main color. So it kind of works, but you can kind of see here what I mean by the dragon being white because it's extremely blue and she's not supposed to like, I guess it kind of is that way, but it's not really. So that's why I think I used too dark of a gray and blue on the marker. So it kind of messed up the light cerulean and the silver I used for the pencil. So, I mean, it's still fine, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's a little too blue than what it should be. The grass is my nemesis. I just kind of just do whatever with that. I do like a basic putting down of where the light is and just kind of move on with my life. Because, you know, I don't like the grass very much. So I just kind of again, just do whatever. So I make it look kind of like grass, but not really. I've never liked it. I just still do it just because it's grass and it's plant life. But it's not my favorite thing in the world to do. This I tried to, like, on her chest with those hearts, I tried to portray them like hanging down. I did get lost underneath her neck there, like underneath her horns, or I was getting confusing myself about like coloring wise, and then was like, oh, that's right. So it is what happened. But for this, I kind of obviously need to be most in shadow because her neck is bending down. So I think it kind of gives a little bit of movement there, like she is looking down at these deer and stuff, which I think kind of works for like the protector part situation. I also thought it was just like fun to kind of have it doing that and just have her leaning over them and everything. I'm also wondering with that white too, is if I use too much indigo, which is also probably what happened, but I love my indigo blue now and adding it into the shadows because it helps wonderfully. Overall, she still works fine. Don't get me wrong. So maybe she's a little bit of a darker white, I suppose. I don't want to say like dirty, but I don't know. I mean, not all my whites have to be like super white. I guess it also kind of helps if she's not, because she's bending down as well. Like she's not really like facing the sun, I suppose. So I guess it also kind of makes sense because like I feel like the red and the pink would be relatively lighter, I suppose, than the white because they're closer to the sun, maybe. I'm just making up excuses now. Well, she works fine. Don't get me wrong. But her colors worked out. She reminds me of very much Valentine's Day, obviously. That's what I thought when I picked those colors too. I'm like, oh, that's Valentine's Day. I guess it works though, funny enough, because she's a bleeding heart and hearts are reminiscent with Valentine's Day. So I was like, ha ha ha. So it still works. Her coloring works. She looks good. I haven't done this kind of coloration before, at least not on the companions. So a little bit interesting, a little bit different. Again, I'm not complaining. I think she's fine. She works out all right. I actually might use her for another dragon I have. She's actually one of my OCs. It's for the elements, I think, is who I actually might use this coloration for. But pink will be the main color. And then probably the red and the white. So we'll see exactly if I do any of that. I don't know yet. I almost want to give her kind of girly colors, but we'll see what I do. Yeah, I don't know. But the little petal thingies I made, those were kind of annoying because there's so many of them, but it's like it makes sense because it's for her flower. So it's like and also on the horns. I generally do put things on top of the horns now. Like, so again, some reminiscent of whatever their fills or sails are or whatever. But the hanging of the flowers underneath the horns, that's new for me. I was just doing it because of the flower. I thought it made sense to kind of add that portion in here because it's how they hang on the flower, is to have them hang like that. So that's why I did that. I don't know. I was just kind of like, how else do I incorporate this flower in here? I thought it was kind of interesting take to do it that way. And it's just kind of making her a little different, but again, it also just gives me jester, and I don't know. She still works fine. It's just very interesting with the way that looks when I did that, because it was like, it didn't hit me until I was actually doing her extra stuff, and then I was like, oh. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. That wasn't the intention. That's just what happened. She still looks fine, though. She works. She's my little dragon. The next one, she is dragon number 2, because this is volume 2 of my companions. This is number 13. I've already done 12, so we're on 13 now. Going on 14 here soon, but it's super exciting. But with that, that is nearing the end. So yes, I have 12 other Patreon companion drawings if you want to check those out. I have multiple comic series on here that I'm working on very slowly, but I'm getting through them. I do other series as well, like I do dinosaurs, I have myths, I do seasons and months, I do all kinds of things. I also do paintings. So if you want to stick around and see more of what else, it is available to watch and enjoy. And that's so crazy that I've been doing these for a year now, but I have been, and it's wild. So I'm glad that we're on to the round 2. Hopefully I'll just kind of get better on from here and just do different things with them. But with that, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please stick around for more. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to get her line art, her print, and some more cards, please head over to my Patreon where you can find that on top of everything else you can help me out with. But with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!